Hey everybody, Adam here. Amazing episode coming at you today. Jeremy Cowart, founder of The Purpose Hotel, founder of Okay Do This, founder of Help Portrait, photographer to the stars, but also photographer to humanitarian causes, refugees, and the least, last, and the lost. I've been following this guy for a long time since I started out, and I've been trying really hard to get him on the podcast. He's the only person I've ever been starstruck by. When we met about 2 years ago at an event that I was covering voluntarily, and he asked me to take his photo, which was the most intimidating thing ever. I think I even mentioned something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm only doing this lighting thing," because he's just a master. Everything he does is incredible. And yeah, so I wanted to have him on and just talk about chasing ideas. It's not just about photography. We're not talking gear. You're not going to hear the words pro photo or anything like that in here. You're going to hear passion. You're going to hear ideas. You're going to hear honesty. And I think that's something that we all need, especially as we're heading into our busy seasons for a lot of us. And definitely take a listen to this episode all the way to the end, just because it's full of passion. Also, fun note, this is the first episode ever on the Bearded Tog where the guest was walking on the treadmill. And it's kind of incredible. It wasn't that noisy at all. And Jeremy does that to help focus, and he's been super in shape anyway. So yeah, it's that's kind of a fun Bearded Tog thing. But anyway, looking forward to Jeremy Cowart's episode right here. Take a listen. Thanks so much. Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good. It's we finally made it after lots of rescheduling on both of our ends, and it's good to finally chat with you, man.
Your superpower is patience, because I have had to reschedule a gazillion times. So I am so sorry, but thank you for being patient.
No worries, man. It's all good. You'd be surprised how, with the scheduling and everything like that, like it's not uncommon, and it's even hard for me as like the host to iron out time, because I don't know, this as a longtime freelancer, like freedom is almost debilitating. You're like, oh, I have nothing today. And you're like, oh, I have this one, interview, or I have this one thing, and
exactly,
it just gets away from you. But I will, for the 1.5 photographers in the world that don't know who you are, tell me a little bit of your story. Kind of, how did you get into photography? Give me a little background on who you are, and I know a little bit of this, but I kind of want to know, how'd you get your start, where you're from, and then like we'll bring it up to current state in a little bit.
Sure, yeah. I'm from Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is just north of Nashville. I'm a Nashville native. I was literally born downtown. Went to school in Murfreesboro, just outside of Nashville, and studied graphic design and illustration. Really didn't stumble into photography till years after college. And so, yeah, I've been in Nashville my whole life with the exception of 1 year in LA. And I've been shooting mostly entertainment and celebrity work and album covers and musicians, but also a good dose of humanitarian work over the years.
Totally. Tell me, what was that first step into, it's been a long time for you now, but what was that first step into kind of celebrity photography or entertainment photography? Like what was your first gig, if you will, that was like, okay, this is going to be good?
Well, being in Nashville, I mean, all my friends are musicians. Like literally everybody I knew at the time was pursuing music. And so I just kind of started photographing my friends because it just made sense and was easy. And then I ended up beating a well-known Hollywood agent for a job. And she was like, hey, you just beat me. I love your work, and I'd love to represent you. She was just a big fan. And so we signed a deal, which I guess at the time was kind of like landing a record deal, because soon after, she was pitching me to all these TV and movie studios. And next thing I know, I was at the Kardashians' house. I mean, it was kind of a crazy ride. But the first gig I really remember as being, even before my agent, was landing a job for Universal, shooting this artist named Steven Delopoulos. He was lead singer of a band that I was a big fan of called Burlap de Cashmere. And that
That's
wasn't
awesome.
that wasn't by any means like the first job. It's just the first one I remember that felt really significant. Like, wow, I'm going to New York for 3 days to be a photographer. Like, that just felt significant.
Totally. Now, tell me a little bit more. I know just a little bit, but I know it's, you're in the commercial world where, I think photographers who are starting out or maybe don't know the business as well. Tell me a little bit more about the basics of being a commercial photographer. So like having an agent, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but tell me more, just what is that like? Is an agent similar to kind of like a band manager essentially? Or, what did you have to do before having an agent that you don't have to do now?
Yeah. Their job is to just put you out there. I was on her website, and in all her meetings, she would pitch me, and it's kind of representation. Then once you land the job, it's your job to produce the shoot still, but they help a lot with the details and invoicing and paperwork. And the way agents work, they're kind of like a box of chocolates, and whoever is the newest flavor in the box gets the most attention. So there for a couple of years, I was the new kid, the new flavor, and so I kind of blew up quickly. But then over time, when you're not the new flavor anymore, they move on to new flavors, which is fine. So I left her probably about 4 years ago because it got to a point where, and this happens with any agents, this is not abnormal, but it just kind of got to a point where I was getting on my own work and couldn't really justify an agent anymore.
Sure. And then, is it similar to like a publishing deal? Like, and yeah, like I said, you don't have to get into too many details, but do they, like in a record deal, they give you an advance essentially, and they say, hey, like you have to pay back this advance. Is it like that? Or is it more we take a percentage of your, what you make on the gig or something like that?
Yeah, there's definitely no advance. It is strictly, they get and this is industry standard, they get 25% of every single gig, whether you got it or they got it. So even if I landed my own gig, I'd still have to give my agent 25%.
Okay. That makes sense. And I mean, obviously, like you said, there's pros and cons to that,
Yep.
But at the same time, they have connections too, and they can help you out. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I know a lot of people will just be, when it comes to commercial photography at that level, it's like, it's a whole other world. It's not just, producing everything yourself like it was in the back in the day, and also managing all the paperwork. It's a little bit more intense for sure.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more, so you photographed people from Tim Tebow to Taylor Swift, and then also you've traveled a lot. Other than that very first gig that you talked about, were there any other certain gigs or shoots where you're like, holy crap, like those ones where you text your wife or somebody and you're just like, whoa, we just landed this person. Have you had many of those before?
Oh yeah, there've been many throughout the years. I remember the first one was getting asked to shoot Sting. Got asked to shoot somebody that played for Sting. They were doing a live concert, but I knew that was the only time I'd be in a room with Sting, so I set up a little portrait setup backstage and ended up shooting portraits of Sting and a bunch of other kind of A-list artists at the time, and made the most of that opportunity. But yeah, I mean, throughout the years, gosh, there have been so many, from Taylor Swift to Garth Brooks to, Gwyneth Paltrow to Ryan Seacrest, Britney Spears. I mean, long list.
That's incredible. That's awesome, man. It's so this is a funny story, and I know, I'm not sure if you remember this, but we met in person last year at Charity Water Ball, or 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Which was a super fun event, and I've shot 5 or 6 for them, all volunteer. Just, they're one of the reasons I got into photography, was their storytelling was so good. And I've shot a few bands and stuff like that. I used to do concert photography and stuff like that. And never ever was speechless or starstruck to anybody. And you came up behind me as we were doing portraits in that amazing hall, and you're like, hey, Adam. And I had no idea what to say at that point. I was like, what? Why am I freaking out? I've known this guy, known of you for so long. And, I realized at that moment how much of a impact you've had on my work, and just, we'll get into a little bit more of your humanitarian work, but just the idea of like, a lot of guys would kind of end what they're doing at the celebrity photography and just say, hey, this is what I do. But we'll kind of get into that. Like, you're using your camera for other ways now, and have been for a while. And so like, that's, that influence is really strong, at least for me and the photography community. So I thought that was really cool. So I can imagine all the cool gigs that you've got. So what are you doing now? Are you still doing a lot of photography still, kind of as client work, and kind of keeping the finances in order, and and then you're pursuing other things right now?
Yeah, I kind of have 3 careers that are very evenly weighted at the moment. I am dividing my time again 3 ways between speaking a lot, shooting quite a bit. Shooting is definitely a roller coaster. I mean, I feel like the first several months of this year I didn't shoot at all. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm hot again and everybody's hiring me. But then I'm obviously building a hotel that I had the idea for 6 years ago. And now we started pursuing it 3 years ago. So we're well on our way to building a hotel. So, and then I signed a book deal recently. And so I'm beginning the work on my first real book that'll come out next year.
That is insane. That's awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. What does it feel like to write?
It's really interesting. I'm actually working with what you call a ghostwriter, which I used to think that that was a weird thing, that somebody would just write your book. But now that I've been going through the process with him, it's actually not at all. Somebody just comes in and writes your book, because we spent 3 and 4 days really going through not only my life timeline and trajectory, but also like all the things that I teach. I mean, the book will be all of my ideas, all of my teachings, my life story, the hotel journey, that he just kind of helps me figure out how to best, like which order to tell it in. And he just kind of helps polish it. And so, yeah, we're in the midst of that, he and I, and it'll come out spring of next year. And it's been really, it's really interesting, really fun.
I could see how, it's a lot different than telling your story photo wise, or at least you getting to write it down. But it makes sense. Like, people, even celebrities or, wedding couples, they're not taking their own photos because that's not their expertise. But if you get to know your subject or your client, or, having those creative briefs, if you will, then it's your job essentially. And like, this ghostwriter, he is much more skilled probably at writing and thought processes and kind of gathering and curating your story. So that makes sense that like he is going to curate your story. And if anything, I found with the few writers I know is that after they met with their ghostwriter or their editor, like they told their stories better in better order after they met with them.
Yeah, no, I feel that way too. And I'm just, man, there's a lot of things I'm good at creatively, but writing is not one of them. I will be the first to admit. And so I'm thankful to have an actual writer working with me to put it all together.
That's crazy. Did you ever think that you would write a book ever growing up?
No. Not in a million years. And so, yeah, I'm seemingly always surprised by what's next, for sure.
What did you have an idea of what you wanted to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, I thought I would be a junior graphic designer, then a senior graphic designer, one day an art director. And I thought about the age of 40, I will go out on my own and become a freelancer. And that journey to becoming a freelancer only took 2 years. So by the age of 24, I was freelancing. That's
awesome. That's super cool. And so you've been doing that for a while now. And then I know along the way you've had done some other things. So tell me a little bit more about, and you can go for it as much as you want, like some of the other projects that you've been doing, since then.
Yeah. I mean, I've done humanitarian projects in Haiti and Florida and Gatlinburg and Rwanda and Uganda, and have one scheduled currently for Puerto Rico. I just did a project last week with refugees. So I've always got little side projects up my sleeve.
Totally. And do you remember the app that you created or you helped create called OK Do This back in the day?
Yeah, of course. We spent 4 years on that thing.
That's incredible. What happened with that? I know that it was, for those who don't know, it was this amazing kind of photo app. And at the same time, it was kind of prompting creative processes like, hey, take a photo upside down or take a photo of something with wheels. And it was this kind of like daily prompt. And then there were different clubs and different, almost like hashtags, essentially, where you could kind of dive into that. Like, tell me a little bit more about, how did you start that and then kind of what happened to it?
Yeah, I had the idea, gosh, it feels like either before Instagram was a thing or it's kind of right around the same time. And I just had this idea. I wanted to have an app that ended creative block, that gave you ideas for photos, and you could see as other people did your ideas. And so we ended up calling those ideas do's. And so the app was called OK Do This. And we thought it would take 6 months to launch or to build, 6 to 9 months. And that process took 4 years. Anyone that's ever built an app probably understands. You just have more and more ideas as something starts building, and take your time. You want to get it right. And the next thing you know, 4 years has passed. And so, yeah, it's quite a journey. By the way, if I sound out of breath, because I'm literally walking on a standing desk treadmill. So I'm almost at half a mile since we started talking.
That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome.
Because a lot of times when I'm on a phone call, I have to walk to think about what I'm saying.
Sure.
So a desk treadmill just kind of helps me not get ADD and stay focused.
Totally. I love that. This is the first walking podcast recording for me for the Bearded Tog, which I love.
Yeah, for me too. I've never done this before. So I'm kind of enjoying it.
There you go, man. That's awesome. We're on a walk together. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more. It seems, I've been following your work for a long time, and, for a while it was, you were doing everything right, which was like showing what you wanted to shoot, or showing, kind of what helped your family, helped the bottom line, probably helped the agent as well as far as commercial work, but then over time you started seeing these sprinkles of humanitarian work and some compassion work. And, and now, that's led to this hotel project. But what made you want to go into humanitarian work? Have you always been interested in it? Or what was that change in Jeremy essentially that said, hey, I'm going to try and pursue this more?
Yeah, oddly enough, that's kind of what the book is about. The premise of my book is going to be how idea 1 leads to idea 20. So by just exercising your creativity and doing things, it leads to more and more ideas. And if you're too afraid of that very first idea and you say no to it, then you've kind of turned off the faucet for creativity, because you've already defeated yourself. You've told yourself, I can't go there. I'm not creative. I'm not worthy. I'm not cool enough. I'm not popular enough, whatever it is. And so for me, I got lucky because literally the month I became a photographer, somebody invited me to go to Africa. And so I was in Africa May of 2005, and I became a full-time photographer on April 1st of 2005. And so, again, 4 weeks into becoming a photographer, I just stumbled into this Africa trip and, immediately realized on the trip, I can have an impact with my camera. I can tell a story. I can help people. I can help organizations. And so it definitely planted a seed for really the rest of my career and the rest of my life. And I've just realized over time that, what I want to be talking to my kids about and the stories I want to be telling is what I did with my talents, not how I photographed Kim Kardashian or Britney Spears. How do we use our gifts to help, make the world a better place, as cliche as that sounds. But I really do believe we all have the ability and the responsibility to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so, you've done a lot of different projects. Tell me a little bit more about Help Portrait. How long has that been around? And then, how did that start? And what was kind of the shift inside of that?
Yeah, Help Portrait was an idea I had in 2008 to just do something small and local to photograph people in need and give them kind of the full-on glamour photo shoot. And so we did it again just here locally, and was amazed at how fun it was, how much people enjoyed the experience. And then I put a video of the day on Facebook. Literally only 8 people responded and said, "Hey, I want to be a part of this if you do it again." And so that's when I had the further idea, like, wow, this really should be a global thing. And so the next fall, I'll launch the idea to, the rest of the internet. And Scott Kilby and Chase Jarvis and a bunch of other guys helped me spread the word. And that first year in 2009 of us attempting it for it to be global, it was in over 43 countries, I believe. And so it just goes to show like the power of a simple idea. Like everybody wants to help, but a lot of times people don't know how to help. They don't know. I just think if we find ways to help within people's giftings, it's going to go, it's actually going to happen, because people are already passionate about photography. They just need like new ideas. What can I do with my camera? And so that was a very easy way to get people engaged and get people moving.
Totally. And I mean, it's like especially the second year and the following years, it's a lot of photographers have a hard time saying, they say, I want to give back or I want to do something, but maybe they don't have the boldness or the strategy to contact like a local, Boys and Girls Club or shelter and say, hey, I'd love to come up with something for you guys. So having something like Help Portrait, is big enough for them to latch onto, and, like the systems are in place, and, it's got a lot of backing behind it as well, in addition to the cool factor, of course, but it's almost a safer outlet for photographers who want to give back to dive in. And at the same time, it's localized, which is, I always thought was really, really cool. It's not Jeremy's coming to photograph these people. It's, the local photographer in the local area is going to photograph these people.
Yeah, exactly. That was the magic of it for sure, is just putting the power in everybody's, like, go do this yourself, Again, it's just an idea, and good ideas spread, and it's been incredible. I mean, there are some difficulties too, like essentially you kind of have to be an event planner, and photographers and creative people are not event planners, and so I think people tend to get a bit overwhelmed. And so but at the same time, like I've never heard a complaint. I've never heard I regret doing that. It's magic. It's a ton of work, and it's a bit exhausting, and can be expensive if you do a big event. But no one has ever said that was a bad decision or a waste of time or anything like that.
Right. Totally. That's awesome. Very cool. So what you're doing now is you're shooting, you're writing, and then you're also planning this hotel, the Purpose Hotel, which the idea has been public, if you will, for a while now. Give me the rundown, man, on the Purpose Hotel.
Yeah, essentially it'll be a hotel, eventually a hotel chain, where everything in the building is connected to causes and nonprofits. So by staying in the hotel, you essentially change the world in your sleep, because you're simultaneously supporting a large number of amazing causes.
I love that.
So the first one will be in Nashville. We've already basically secured our land, and we have renderings of what it's going to look like, and now we're raising the money this summer to go build it. It's kind of crazy.
That's awesome, man. What is so I know you guys originally did like a Kickstarter the first time. Tell me about that whole process, and what you learned from that process, and how things have changed to now.
Yeah, we did a Kickstarter. Our goal was $2 million. We failed miserably and hit $750,000. But we also were a massive success because it blew us up PR-wise and got a lot of people excited about it. And so we immediately relaunched for a goal of $300,000. We raised about $680,000. And that money has gone a long way to get us to now, to where we can do the real capital, raising. Like
sure.
This building will be over $100 million. So obviously no Kickstarter can raise that kind of money. Guess I should never say never, but anyway, so yeah, now we begin the official journey with investors to build a building.
That's incredible. What was, after something like that, and you said it failed miserably, how did that feel? Or did you feel, excited? You're like, all right, well, at least we have interest. Or, what was that feeling like? What was that situation like? And how did you make that decision?
To redo it?
Yeah.
We just knew we had to. We knew we needed money. We knew the public loved it. We knew we had the idea. But I understand why $2 million was a bit lofty for a number of reasons. We were asking people to fund something that won't exist for years, strike one. Fund something that won't exist in your city unless you live in Nashville. It's kind of strike two. And essentially fund an idea, That's a tall order. Kickstarter is really meant for the cool little thing or gadget that is going to be in your house in 3 months,
Yeah.
It's meant for the sweatshirt or the hoodie or the camera bag or the gadget. But a hotel is definitely a tall order to ask somebody to put money into. But hey, 5,000 people did. Yeah, we still consider that a huge success.
That's awesome. And so now the Kickstarter's closed and you guys are primarily raising funds through, investors and capital and all that stuff, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But if somebody wants to give you $5 towards the Purpose Hotel and they see you on the streets in Nashville.
People have actually done that kind of thing, which is when they do, I keep that money. I keep it as in, like, I don't deposit it. I don't put it in my wallet. Like, I have those dollars in my office just because it means so much that, we had one person, I won't get into the name, but they gave us literally the only $20 they had to their name to build this hotel. And I still have that $20 bill in my office.
That's incredible.
Just so incredibly meaningful. Yeah.
That's like like in a store. You should do it. Like, you ever go to those like bodegas and they'll have like their first dollar ever made on the wall. You could have like a little mini wall in the office of the Purpose Hotel just with a few of those dollars on the wall.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
That could be cool. Awesome. So tell me, so now that's big on the horizon, obviously, and that's it's a big deal, man. It's not photographing, anymore. It's you're building a building, which is insane. But I want to know, what has been the moment with like the largest emotional impact, from age 24 to now? Is it building this hotel or is it something else? Like what? And maybe there's more than one, but what has been that largest emotional impact for you?
I have no idea. That's obviously a massive question. Like having children, adopting 2 children from Haiti. Gosh, there could be a million answers to that question.
Sure.
The hotel journey has been just really, really hard, full of fear and doubt, and just like 3 years of I was literally paralyzed because I did nothing because I was just so afraid of it. Like, what freelance photographer goes and builds $100 million hotel?
Right.
But finally one day flying over New York City, I was like, well, there's thousands and thousands of buildings down there and skyscrapers, and every single one of those buildings had to start somewhere with somebody. So like, why can't that be me? I've got a good vision. All those buildings are boring. So why can't I do something special? See, I finally started moving forward.
Totally. So what's your day-to-day look like nowadays? Are you shooting every week? Are you doing Purpose Hotel stuff? Are you writing? Is it kind of just all of a hodgepodge? What does that look like for you right now?
Yeah, it's all of it. It's a hodgepodge. Every day is completely different. Today it's hotel, meetings, podcast. Tomorrow it's flying to Orlando to speak. Next week it's a 3-day photo shoot. It's all of the above.
That's awesome. I love that. When you were 24 and you went full time, freelance, was this even on the horizon? Like the fact that you could do photography and speak and, also be pushing this hotel, was that even a thought in your mind? I
don't know how exaggerated I can say hell no, but hell no. Never in a million. I mean, no, none of it. I never thought I'd be a speaker. Certainly not in a million years that I think I'd be building a hotel.
Sure.
I had very not low confidence. I don't ever remember not having confidence, but I didn't think I had great potential. I didn't think I'd do anything special. I just thought I would be kind of a run-of-the-mill designer working in different shops and just try to get the job done and design some cool stuff. That was the end of my vision for my life. That was it.
So we're going to have another huge question. So what does the vision for your life look like currently?
Want to win a Super Bowl, a couple Grammys. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously.
Such a Nashville answer right there.
I just try to think of the most ridiculous things. I don't know. I mean, it's super fun right now. I am in max fulfillment. I couldn't love what I'm doing right now anymore. Because I just have so much vision within the hotel, what it can do, who it can help, even the little things. Like last week, I basically reinvented bathroom lighting and how I want the lights to look in our bathroom. I've invented our restaurant concept in the last few months. I've had ideas. I mean, it just there are hundreds of ideas I've had within the hotel. It is a very, very clear vision. It's hard when you have such clear vision for, I can't really express to anybody or tell anybody because I see all of it.
Right.
And so the public only knows the very basic premise of what we're doing, but it's so much more in depth than we've ever been able to convey. So I just have to learn to kind of shut up and be quiet. And one day when we open the doors, people will fully understand what it's about. And that day feels like a fairy tale, but it is happening and we are, making our way towards it.
Hey, I mean, you have a plot of land already. So, I mean, you're doing good. You're on the way.
That's right. That's right.
You can have the Purpose Motel first if we need to. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously. Yeah, a lot of people say, why don't you do start with Airbnb, a Purpose Airbnb? And I'm because it's so much more than just putting blankets and soaps in a space. It's literally everything: the design, the music, the smell, the feeling, just everything we have thought about. It's not just something you can do as an Airbnb. That actually kind of bores me.
Right.
Thought of trying it as an Airbnb. I'm it was a grand vision from day one. And, I won't be excited till I see the grand vision executed.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think for, what's the future look like for Jeremy? Are you still going to do photography? Do you see yourself that ending eventually? Do you see kind of the trifecta you have going on right now between writing, photography, and the Purpose happening? Or do you feel like that's going to shift?
All I can say for sure is that I will continue to follow ideas. If an idea leads me to putting a camera in my hand, then so be it. If it's speaking a new talk, I'll do that. If it's, franchising a restaurant, if it's doing a documentary, a film, a book. Like, I have no idea. I just know over 20 years that I've had a lot of ideas, and they've taken me to places I never thought I would go. And so, I have no clue. I've learned not to plan, not to, try to figure that out. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing, which is chasing ideas.
I love that. That's awesome. That's super cool. Very cool. Anything else happening fun this year for the family or, for you? Is it other than the hotel happenings?
Mainly just the hotel. My wife became a real estate agent last year, and she's just killing the game, man. I'm just so proud of her she's in this company full of other agents, and they're all amazing people, but it's just crazy to see her. She's number one,
wow,
within that company, and everybody else is like, doing Zillow ads and marketing and trying to get their name out there. And she spent $0 on marketing. She's done none of what everybody else is doing. And awesome. It's because she loves people so well. And so it's just been fun to support my wife and watch her blow up, and all while raising 4 children, which is just insane. She truly is a Wonder Woman. Totally.
She's pretty awesome. And I mean, she has to raise a dog as well. And,
dog and a cat. Yeah.
And the cat. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. What did she do before? Totally random, but
she used to be a physical therapist for years. And then she worked for me for a couple of years, and that actually went really well. But she had to stop working for me to begin the adoption process, because that was basically a full-time job within itself. And so 3 years of the adoption process, and then she finally needed an identity again outside of being an adoptive mom, and she fell in love with real estate, and here she is.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. She's the few moments that I've spent with her and talked to her on Facebook. She's super nice. She's awesome. And all the Instagram behind the scenes we see on your Instagram of family, and like I said, the dog, and
no doubt.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Jeremy has this golden retriever, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Who he throws ice at. Well, he doesn't throw ice at. He lobs it to the dog, and the dog wants to catch it every try, but he cannot do it.
he can't ever catch anything, and it's amazing.
He's the opposite of a dog. He's very chill.
Right.
That's awesome. Exactly. Very cool, man. Well, sweet, dude. Is there anything that we can send people your way if they want to find out more about the Purpose Hotel and help out in any way that you could actually be useful to you? And where should people go to find out more about what's happening in Jeremy Cowart's life?
Yeah, just at Jeremy Cowart on all the social channels, and at the Purpose Hotel on all the social channels. People can join our mailing list at thepurposehotel.com, and I think that's about it.
Awesome, man. I'll link that stuff in the show notes too. And I was an original supporter of the Purpose Hotel back in the day. And dude, I hope it works out, and I hope we see it like soon. I hope I think it's going to happen soon, man. And be encouraged. And I just, it's an exciting thing, and it's so powerful. Like, from a camera in your hand to seeing this vision, I think like that first trip to Africa probably planted some seeds for what would become this hotel,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the hotel would not exist without that first trip. So it's incredible. And by the way, I just crossed a mile during our podcast.
There it is. We hit the mile mark. That's what we had. That was our goal, was to have this episode last at least a mile. That's hilarious.
No doubt.
Awesome, man. Well, sweet, Jeremy. Thanks so much for coming on, man. And dude, seriously, it was so great just to have a little conversation with you. And just following ideas, man. There's like, you've done so many different things and still had that camera in your hand the whole time. And I think a lot of people feel stuck, like once they do photography or they do something, but they can just chase ideas and change their lives, man.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on, and I look forward to having you on again sometime. Maybe we'll get Shannon on too and talk about the work-life balance of being married to Jeremy.
Absolutely. We'd love that anytime.
What a fantastic episode. I absolutely love Jeremy Cowart. I know I say that all the time, but we're in that season where the guests that we're bringing on are inspiring to me, and I think that they'll be inspiring to others. And the thing I love about Jeremy is like I said, that he's had a camera in his hand, the whole time, or maybe a pencil because he's big in graphic design, and he's still chased these other opportunities and these ideas. And I think a lot of people, we get scared or we get stagnant, and where will that camera lead you? Where will that, passion place you? And so I love his heart for that. Definitely check out the Purpose Hotel. Link is in the show notes. It's an incredible idea. There's never been anything like it. It's absolutely incredible. Have a wonderful day, guys. Keep being awesome. Thanks so much.